All right, today I have a special show for you. I'm waiting for Congressman Tim Burchett to come on. When he's not dealing with the jackasses and donkeys of the Democrat Party in D.C., he's back actually taking care of his constituents, unlike Lindsey Graham, who flew to Ukraine. But I got a message just minutes ago that one of his prized donkeys got loose, so he's out trying to wrangle that. I'm going to just go through the news. When I see him come in the room, we'll go ahead and bring him in. So what I'm going to cover today is why is Congress continuing to send $40 million a week to the Taliban? We're going to talk about the Israel-Iran war. We're also going to talk about a big win for President Trump. A judge said the president doesn't have the authority to use the National Guard. Gavin Newsom threw a big party. Within hours, an appeals court said, of course he does. He's the chief commander of the military and the United States of America. So I want to go through that information with you. Also, Senator Padilla rushed Kristie Noems, the Department of Homeland Security secretary, and then got arrested. Now he's throwing a fit. I'm going to talk to Congressman Tim Burchett about that. But let me show you what Stephen A. Smith had to say about this situation.
Here you have this Senator, Alex Padilla. Can Kristie Noems speak? Could you have waited till she finished to ask your questions? To shout your questions? You are a senator, right? You couldn't wait? So that was just you out of control because you were just losing it up. You, a United States Senator, couldn't compose yourself and let the head of Homeland Security finish her thoughts before you asked the question. Couldn't do that, huh? Couldn't do it, huh?
All right. He makes a good point. So this guy comes in. Nobody knows who he is. He's a junior senator with no real bills. He almost gets no press time. He rushes in and starts yelling. People are like, what is going on? This is a person, Kristie Noems, who's had thousands of death threats for being the head of Homeland Security. So he ends up getting arrested. I'm going to ask Congressman Tim Burchett if this was a setup as we go into the weekend with the No Kings anti-Trump rallies. It's now gone from 1,500 rallies to over 2,000. Oh, I see the congressman coming in. Let's go ahead and bring him in now. Congressman, thank you for joining me again.
I'm good. I'm live here at the Weigels in Knoxville, Tennessee. A few people might say hello.
Hey, that's okay. You're a popular man. That's why I like having you on the show. Let me start off with this. Why on earth is Congress still flying cash to the Taliban every week? I know you and other members of Congress want this to stop.
Yeah.
This looks really bad for Republicans. It looks bad to the taxpayers. What are your thoughts on why they can't just get this thing done?
One simple reason: Washington is crooked. It's crooked as a dog's leg. It is broken. You know, we added the NGOs to it so that money wouldn't flow through them. And the NGO is a non-government organization. And do you have any idea? Just take a guess at how many of these are operating currently in Afghanistan.
100?
Close to 1,000.
1,000 NGOs?
Yeah. And I have documentation from the State Department showing that, in fact, close to $5 billion has flowed into the coffers of the Taliban. So you take that into consideration, and you got to wonder, where is that money going? I'll tell you where it's going. It's going right back to Washington, D.C. in the form of dark money to campaigns and probably in politicians' pockets.
Yeah, one of the great highlights of Elon Musk's time at Doge, I believe, was exposing USAID. Now we're seeing this No Kings rallies, 2,000 rallies around the country to protest Donald Trump, call him out as a Nazi, say he's destroying democracy. A lot of these are being funded by these NGOs.
100%. Your tax dollars falling right back into them. And the way that works is, Elon Musk explained it to me pretty well. He said, you know, Tim, you'll have one of these billionaires and we all know there's a couple of them that are operating right now that we know of are pretty pretty regular. They'll put maybe, I don't know, a few million into a NGO or one of these organizations, and then their coffers show, their financial show, hey, they got $1 million in there. They're legit. So they will literally get, in some cases, $1 billion with a B of your tax dollars to do whatever it says they're claiming to do. And then they immediately take that money and do very little of what they say are going to do, and the money flows right back into the billionaires and the politicians' pockets, and that's why nothing ever gets fixed. That's why they love it that the rails are that we're running off the rails, because that money's flowing right into their checking accounts.
Wow.
And they got a wife and or girlfriend that works for one of these things.
Yeah, I've noticed how many family members are connected to the money. It's like they're one step removed from, the money laundering, but it's just going through a different family member.
Sure.
Let me ask you this. Now we find out that U.S. taxpayer money is going to 1,000 NGOs in the Middle East, jihadists that beat their women, beat their children, have anti-Christian values and anti-Jewish values. This just looks bad. But you're saying all of this is because of these dark pools that can receive the money back to keep people in politics?
I think so. I think they figured out a way to do it. It's a moving target. It's kind of like whack-a-mole, I guess. You're going to see they'll move it, but that's part of the delaying tactic, I think, on this, so they can find a way to do it, to move it to some other organization or some other way, and that's why it's taken well over a year to get a bill out. And I heard somebody talking about something. We're going to save. If we could do this, we could save $3 or $4 billion. I said, dude, save 40 million a week if we could just get this bill passed. And I've been told by leadership, not this coming week, but the week after, it's on the agenda to get it to the floor. Okay. So it's just the scam of Washington.
Yeah. Let me switch gears with you. There was a major attack, Israel on Iran, their nuclear facilities. Immediately, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the United States is hands off. This isn't us. You shouldn't retaliate on American people or American bases. Were we really hands off and just let Israel do this? Or what are your thoughts on this?
Well, Israel's an independent nation. They can do whatever they want. I mean, we've invested a lot in their military. Of course, the Iron Dome is something we've both created more or less with Israel. And so, but yeah, it is, they're on their own on this one. They've done it. Iran's they're terrible actors. To think that they're developing anything nuclear for energy is a joke. They're sitting on some of the largest oil reserves in the world. They can get all the energy they want from oil. So, but yeah, and there's no secret of what they were going to do, and there's no secret that it was going to happen. I was surprised that Iran, their missile defense systems and everything, nothing went off, and then the Israelis have allegedly killed most of their top military people. So that there's a lot of disruption in that, and as usual, the Israelis, their intelligence and technology was superb. Okay. It was superb. They hit very, very strategic targets. And yeah. My statement, I issued a statement, but basically I said, let's get everybody to the table. Trump can negotiate peace over there if anybody can. And I think, and Trump said, Iran needs to get to the table before you don't have anything left to negotiate.
Exactly. He's saying, listen, the people we were trying to get this deal done with, they're all dead. So, now send your best negotiators and let's get this thing done before something much worse happens. Does this whole thing revolve around ensuring that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon?
I think it really does. There's really only one, there's two places that they would deliver that missile, but they don't have the capabilities to get it over here. So it's obviously Israel, and Israel feels threatened, and And they are. I mean, they're a given enemy. You know, maybe they're not winning the world PR business though with Gaza now and this, but they feel like it's a threat. And really, it wasn't any secret this was going to go down. I'm still shocked that they killed their top people, military folks, because I was in conversations with someone yesterday who was in the know and was telling me they thought it was inevitable, that it was going to happen soon. And, I was getting on the airplane yesterday and I clicked on the news and there it was. They were hitting them.
Yeah. I mean, I've been reading over on Twitter. Of course, you have to take everything on Twitter with a grain of salt, but they were basically saying that the United States was projecting we're getting our people out of Bahrain and Kuwait and Iraq, and they knew that this was going to hit. And those leaders, they all stayed together, and that's why Israel was able to hit them all in one night.
Yep, 100%. And that doesn't make. That's why you never fly your president and vice president on the same plane. They rarely have them in the same room at the same time, just because of something like that could go down. But they made a very unwise decision in that regard. But I think it probably plays into Israel's hands. I would say they know who their number twos are. During the Second World War, we had many opportunities to take out Hitler, and towards the end, they chose not to do it because he was such a horrible leader that they knew that it could prolong the war if somebody of some capabilities got into that position.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So the number two may be worse than the number one. Let me switch gears with you on this. And I know you're out with family, so I appreciate your time. What do you make of Senator Padilla rushing at DHS Secretary Kristie Noems in the middle of a broadcast about what ICE is doing? And he rushes her, he starts yelling, and then now he's literally crying on TV, "I've been arrested. They didn't know who I was. They didn't respect me." Your thoughts on his behavior? Hey, I want to be brief, but like I said, if you give your body what it needs, the immune system can take care of you. That's how God and nature designed our bodies. And I want to tell you about a way to raise your happiness levels, your immunity, your bloating, your waistline. All of these things improve when you take kimchi. This is Kimchi One by Brightcore. They've been a sponsor of the channel for many, many months. I take this. My family takes this. My 11-year-old who had bowel issues, we're able to clear these up with kimchi. Now, there's good bacteria and bad bacteria in your gut. You have to flourish, nurture, give life to the good bacteria. In each capsule of kimchi is 900 strains of the good bacteria. You got to check them out. They're absolutely amazing. Now, if you go to mybrightcore.com/kimchi or snap the QR code, you're going to get 25% off. But you guys are smarter than that. Call them right now, 888-908-4425. Get up to 50% off plus free shipping. Do your gut a favor. Do your health and your happiness a favor. And do your wallet a favor. Call them at 888-908-4425 for up to 50% off plus free shipping.
Well, that was all planned. The night before, he was at the baseball game, the congressional baseball game, apparently. A reporter told me today. And then the next day, he's in California. Now, he must have taken a private plane back. I don't know all the details, but I never knew who this guy was. I would not have known him if he came up to my office. I would have said, he told me he was a senator. I said, "When did you serve?" I was like, I wouldn't have known that he was there. So it reminded me of a guy I knew in high school that would always run his mouth and start a fight and then tell the smallest guy in the room to, "Hey, hold me back, like he was, and the smallest guy in the room was pushing this guy back. And he was, if that had been me or you, we'd have been arrested for assault or disrupting him, because he was clearly, he said, "Well, I wanted my question answered." He didn't want his question answered. He was just yelling, and there's some madman running at the stage. Well, of a lady who's had probably thousands of death threats, and her security is very tight, and she wears that bulletproof vest for a reason. I mean, it's it's partially PR. I guess it makes her look tough, but the reality is when she's out in public, she's a target.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know who he was. You might recognize pencil neck Adam Schiff because he's been on CNN lying about Trump so much. But Padilla, this guy, nobody knows who he is. He's at a pro-Republican conference, and he rushes in screaming. What were people supposed to think? And then you bring up another point. Isn't this what they got the January 6th people on, officially interrupting government business?
Yep. And again, double standard. Democrats have a double standard, and this, this Israeli attack couldn't have happened at a worse time for them and a better time for America, because nobody cares anymore about Padilla. Everybody's watching this thing unfold in Iran with Israel. It's the turn of events in Washington D.C. happened so fast. But it's just the news cycle is. I used to say when I was mayor of Knox County, there'll be another wreck on the interstate tomorrow. Not that I was hoping for another wreck, but the reality is that something will knock you off the headlines. That's exactly what happened to him. His moment in the sun came and went. And then you had just like clockwork, all the congressmen marching down to Leader Thune's office as if he's going to, reverse the course. Then you had one New Yorker Democrat yelling at a Republican New Yorker on the House floor, do something. We're losing control. No, you're losing control. America's in control, and they see the corruption and they see the outright fraud that's going on with all this stuff. And they're tired of seeing innocent Americans slaughtered and raped by illegals. That's what they're seeing. And you're seeing a president who's enforcing the law, and America is embracing that.
Yeah, they are. Final question. I know when you're not in Washington, D.C. dealing with donkeys, you're out your farm dealing with a donkey today. I appreciate you taking time away from the farm and family. Do you think that maybe this Padilla thing, he wanted to be arrested just days before this 2000 anti-Trump rally this coming weekend, the No Kings event?
Yeah, I think he wanted to be a spokesmodel for that group, and I think he wanted to be the rallying point. And I would warn people that are getting out in this, good people that are going to go watch this, leave it to the experts. Let law enforcement take care of a Chinese billionaire living in China that's actually financing a lot of this.
Wow.
And we'll see some more out of it.
Okay. Hey, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend.
You too, brother. Just keep putting the truth out there so much. I appreciate you more than you know, brother.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Sir, bye-bye.
Okay. I could tell the congressman needed to move on just by the way he was looking at his wife driving. Man, I really admire Tim Burchett. He is one of the good guys fighting for our tax dollars. He's part of the Doge committee. He wants to get rid of the Taliban receiving our money. He was able to expose 1,000 NGOs receiving taxpayer money in just the country of Afghanistan. It's absolutely disgusting. Now, at the top of this show, I showed you how Gavin Newsom was celebrating a judge saying that Donald Trump doesn't have the authority as the president of the United States to use the National Guard. Well, immediately after that, like within 2 or 3 hours, an appeals court says, of course he does. He's the sitting president of the United States. He's the chief commander of the U.S. military, all of the military, including the Coast Guard, the reserves, and the National Guard. Now, I want to roll one more clip here from Stephen A. Smith, where he goes off on Gavin Newsom saying, my gosh, you just continue to embarrass yourself when it comes to this stuff. Stop it. Stop embarrassing yourself. Act like a governor that actually cares about your state. Now, let me bring this up on the screen. and we will watch it together. But man, he goes off, and I agree with this guy. Like, he's a Democrat, but more and more he's being red-pilled over to the truth.
If you were Gavin Newsom, as the Wall Street Journal alluded to, you know what you could have done to alleviate this? Since you want to take the Trump administration to court and say that he had no business federalizing the National Guard, you could have called the National Guard. You could have made sure that law enforcement throughout the city of Los Angeles had a very strong, vibrant, conspicuous presence where it might have alleviated the possibility of him calling in, meaning Trump calling in the National Guards and the Marines. You could have done that, but you didn't. And because you didn't, you gave him the opening to do it. Because it makes you look like you're weak on crime, you're weak on lawlessness, you're weak on borders. All the things that got him elected, you're playing into his hand. And not only did you do it, Governor Newsom, now Senator Padilla did it. Because we all know you could have waited for her to finish speaking.
More and more, I'm liking Stephen A. Smith. Let me know in the comments, is he right? There's two people that could have used the National Guard with proper authority for the spending and calling them in. Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump. Only one of them had the courage to do what was right, save the city of Los Angeles, and protect the authorities, the police, ICE, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security. So Trump has the stones that Gavin Newsom is lacking, and I'm glad that he did. Now, let me know in the comments, was he right? Also, did you see this garbage? Nancy Pelosi is saying, oh, sure, Trump calls in the National Guard when California needs it. Where was the National Guard on January 6th? I begged for them. No, you didn't. It's been proven with documents, court cases, and testimonials from multiple people, including the now current director of the FBI. You rejected the National Guard so that there would be a scene. Trump learned his lesson, and this time he sent in the National Guard. And what do? Now they hate him for doing that. Whether he does or doesn't, they hate his guts. But whether he does or doesn't, we love him. We appreciate him. Hey, that's my news broadcast for today. I'll be on later this evening with even more daily news. Thank you guys so much. Let me know what you guys think of what Congressman Tim Burchett said about the Taliban, about Senator Padilla, and about the Israel-Iran attack. I love you guys. Stay amazing, and I will see you on the next video.